Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Dune Part 2. Starring Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Dave Bautista, Christopher Walken, Leah Seydoux, Charlotte Rampling, Stellan Skarsgård, and Javier Bardem, directed by Denis Villeneuve. Now, before I get into this movie, I have seen it 3 times. Once was the Sunday before the movie came out on a digital IMAX format, and then I went again on the 70mm format. I'm gonna say best experience ever on the 70mm, and then I saw it to take notes for the regular screen. And welcome back to Denis Villeneuve, because it's been since I think Part 1 came out in 2021 since I reviewed his work. So let's see how this one goes, because I remember liking Dune Part 1 very much, but we'll see if this is better. Because I've been hearing critics saying this is better than the first part. Let's get straight into it. On the planet Kaitane, we get a narration by Princess Arulin Corino, played by Florence Pugh, secretly journaling that Paul Atreides, returned by Timothy Chalamet, may still be alive while her father, Emperor Shaddam the Fourth, played by Christopher Walken, is disrupted after his promoting fall of House Atreides. And the opening narration by Florence Pugh is well done, and I like her character very much, and Christopher Walken is always great in my opinion. We go back to Paul and his mother Jessica, returned by Rebecca Ferguson, still pregnant with a baby girl, as they hide from the ambush of Harkonnen, and Stiglar, returned by Javier Bardem, fights off the Harkonnen, let me rephrase that, with his fellow Freeman, along with Chani, returned by Zendaya. And after they kill all the Harkonnen, they get back en route to Seich. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure if I'm correct on that. And when they arrive, suspicions arise with Paul and Jessica being spies, while some of the Fremen have faith in them and believe a prophecy of a mother and a son bringing prosperity to Arrakis. And the cinematography in this movie is absolutely gorgeous. Even on the IMAX, when I saw this on IMAX 70mm for my second viewing, I appreciated how breathtaking the cinematography was. And if there was any way to see this movie, IMAX or IMAX 70mm, it's the best way to review this movie in my opinion, as it was the best experience yet to date. Paul decides to get revenge against the Harkonnen, who destroyed his family, as Stiglar informs Jessica their reverend mother is dying, and he convinces Jessica to replace her by drinking the water of life, which is a poison fatal for males. And the untrained, and I'm liking the hero characters and the villain characters, except for Zendaya's character, Chani, by the second hour, we'll get to it, because she'll make questionable decisions later in the movie, in my opinion. Take it from someone who's never read the books, but again, this is just my opinion. Jessica transmutes the poison, and by doing so, she inherits the memories of every female ancestor in her lineage. And this is making so much sense thus far. Because Jessica is pregnant, the water of life awakens her daughter's mind, and as the audience follows this, Jessica has spiritual conversations with Elia, or something like that, I don't know how you can say it, in her womb, believing that those in northern Arrakis must be convinced first of the prophecy, starting with the weak-minded, as Chani and her friend Shishakli, I can't say that correctly, believe the prophecy is false. But when Paul makes a speech about not seeking power and wanting to fight alongside them, and Chani develops respect for him, and the dialogue is written tremendously, as director Denis Villeneuve does a great job with making images in these two movies, and in other movies like Blade Runner 2049, for example. And the action has improved from the first part of the story, as this is also slowly paced, like the first part of the story, but I go along with it this time. Paul embraces the Fremen ways and learns their language, passing tests like riding a sandworm, and forms a romantic relationship with Chani, while he becomes a Fredakian fighter and assists raids in Harkonnen Slice harvesters as he earns the title. Let me see if I say this right. So if I don't say it right, please forgive me. Muad'Dib Yusul. And these are powerful scenes, and the action scene was fun, and as it goes back and forth from action to quiet time. And I also really like the quiet time in the movie as well, as this movie engaged me from start to finish. And this is a long movie at 2 hours and 46 minutes, but again, it engages me from start to finish. Jessica spiritually guides his ascent and thereby fuels the religion in which she becomes prominent. Meanwhile, Beast Glossu Rabin, returned by Dave Bautista, whose grip is on spice production, has been slipping and intensifies raids on the Fremen to please his uncle Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, returned by Stellan Skarsgård. And when I watched the two movies, I never got the impression Robin and was Baron's uncle, but it is show don't tell. And I love how director Denis Villeneuve doesn't tell, but roughly shows it. Rabin's continued failure leads to the psychotic, murderous, and younger nephew Fade Rotha, played by Austin Butler, as a new ruler. Now, here's an actor like Austin Butler, who I will watch in anything, from Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, to Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, to this, to hell, even an upcoming The Bike Riders, which I'm going to review when it comes out. It looks really good. And he's the best actor in the movie, in my opinion. And this movie is filled with very good actors in the right roles. Margot Fenring, played by Leah Seydoux, is a being Gesserit sent by Mother Gaius Mohiam, returned by Charlotte Rampling, to seduce Fayed to secure his genes should Paul's bloodlines be unsalvageable. And the scene when she watches Fayed in a ceremony slay some people from the House of Atreides looked very breathtaking, in my opinion. Jessica completes her religious quest in the north before traveling south to unite with the Fremen fundamentalists. However, Paul fears his visions of a holy war, which will ignite if he proceeds south as a messiah, but he will remain in the north as he reunites with Gurney Halleck, returned by Josh Brolin, as we see him again, because I thought he died in the first movie. First part of the movie, I will say, as he sings a song he made up as the Gurney song, and who joined spy smugglers after the Atreides downfall, and leads Paul to House Atreides' atomic stockpile, which is a great shot, and this movie is shot magnificently. Fayed's troops attack Sietch Tabor as it kills Shashakli, and facing the survivors, including Paul, to journey south, where Jessica learns the water of life is a liquid excreted by adolescent sandworms, once drowned despite it being Chani's wishes. Paul consumes the water of life as he falls into a coma, but is reawakened by Chani with a clear scene of the past and the future, as Paul sees a vision of Elias, who's played by an uncredited Anya Taylor-Joy, as Paul realizes Baron is his grandfather. When they brought it up again, I've never read the books, so did shock the hell out of me. So that makes Paul and Fayed cousins, because Fayed at one point says uncle and Baron calls him a nephew. And they'll say at the end of the film, and the reveal and was very well done, as it did shock me to death. And at this point, this is when I'm starting to think Chani is making questionable choices for the last 40 to 45 minutes left into the movie. Southern Freeman leaders hope for Paul to challenge Stilgar, for leadership, but Paul refuses, instead proving himself by reading the minds of Fremen, which was powerfully acted by Timothée Chalamet, as he leads the Fremen to war. Finally accepting the prophecy, Paul declares himself the Lisan al-Gaib and assumes full power over the Fremen as he challenges Shaddam, who arrives in Arrakis with Irulan, Mohiam, and his Sardaukar troops. And the movie is turning as good as the first part of Dune to making this even better than Dune Part 1, in my opinion. At Shadam's staging ground, Paul chastises House Harkonnen for their failure to end the Fremen threat. Paul's forces surround and attack the staging ground, and these shots are very spectacular, as this movie is visually spectacular. Riding sandworms, the Fremen power Sardaukar forces and breach the defenses as Paul enters the throne room, kills the Baron, and orders Shaddam as he orders to be transported to the planet's capital city. While Paul challenges Shaddam for the throne, the great houses arrive in orbit, and Gurney kills Rabin, as this battle is terrific. Paul threatens to destroy the planet's space fields with the Atreides atomics if they intervene, as Paul challenges Shaddam to a duel, who chooses Fayed Ralpha as his champion, which is the best choice in the movie, as this is a great fight between Paul and Fayed, and Paul kills Fayed, and Irulan consents to marry Paul on the condition that her father will live, while Shaddam gives in to Paul's ultimatum, kneeling before his signet ring. And these scenes are very well acted, as this movie is absolutely well made. Above Arrakis, the great houses refuse to accept Paul's ascendancy, as Paul orders his Fremen army to attack the orbiting fleet, which will lead to Dune Part 3. And Jessica and Alia reflect that this is the beginning of Muad'Dib's holy war, and the final shot where Chani refuses to bow to Paul and flees on a sandworm, which was a great cliffhanger to Part 3, as this climax is so good. That's what makes this movie a masterpiece. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a 9.3 out of 10. Better than the first part of the new Dune film, in my opinion, as I like the characters, except for Zendaya's character, as she made questionable decisions, in my opinion. Taken from someone who's never read the book, and the cinematography was absolutely gorgeous. And if you ever try to see this movie, go to the IMAX 70mm or any IMAX showing, as it's the best experience, in my opinion. Director Denis Villeneuve has the best vision of the story with images and an action, and the score in this movie is spectacular. And I love the way he doesn't tell but tells you roughly the relationship of each character. And Austin Butler is the best villain in this and in the story, in my opinion. And he's got a career going up from Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to Baz Luhrmann's Elvis to this movie to, hell, even the upcoming The Bike Riders, which I'm going to review as it comes out. It looks very good, as he's the best actor in this, in my opinion. There were scenes that were absolutely breathtaking, and there was more action in here than in the first part, and I like how it goes back and forth between action scenes and quiet time, and I did like the quiet scenes as well, as this movie was visually spectacular. And this is a strong recommendation, and if you have seen the first part of the story, you must go see this movie in a theater, as it won't disappoint you, as this is it won't disappoint you in this, in my opinion, as is a masterpiece. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and whenever Denis Villeneuve comes back with another Dune or another movie, until then, go see this movie in the meantime. Seriously, go see it.